Alright guys, so we are back and now we are trying to get started with the general shape. I mean, the reason why thumbnails are so popular is because you can sit down, start drawing, and you can try so many things out because you're only drawing the basic shape, and it's really fast to do it. So you can try out a lot of choices, as we spoke about earlier, to the shape. I mean, it goes so fast that it's really nice. And at this point, I was thinking, yeah, I know these designs it's going to be awesome. I mean, this is the design that I think I'm gonna end up in the end right now. So I can already see that it's not the best designs, but it's some of the bad ones, and these are just the cliche maybe that you want to get out of the way. And maybe at the point you think it's the best design you ever made, but in the end you'll probably see that you can make better. So I'm just trying to get a pirate hat in because I know that I want that, and from the reference I know that they had these nice shoes, so I'm kind of trying to get that in as well in the shape. And I'm not gonna zoom in and start doing a lot of details. I'm gonna keep it out on the open because it will not help to go in and make details. At this moment we're just trying to establish the big shape, and we're going to refine the shape later on as we go further into the tutorials. And you can see that I try to make how would he look with a bit taller legs, and how would he look with a bit more squarish body. And these are just all the things that I think about right now. And how will he look with shoulder plates? How about if he had a really small head and a very big hat compared to the rest of his body? I'm also trying not to make the shapes too similar. I don't want the head to be the same size as the body, and I don't want the width of them to be the same. I mean, if the head is very wide and the body are very slim, it will kind of make a contrast between the head and the body, and that would make an interesting looking character. So I'm also trying to think about that. I'm trying to think how can I make an interesting contrast in the character, because this is going to help me have an interesting character in the end. And you can see that I'm trying to make a very round body shape, and maybe a not too tall guy with some arms that's going down from him, and he should probably have a hat as well. Have a hat. I kind of like that as well. And the really great thing about Photoshop is that you can just rescale and scale up again and down. So you can see that now the hat on this guy is actually the same width as his body. And generally I will try to avoid that because it makes the design kind of even. And you want the uneven design, but still with balance. And you can see that I wasn't quite satisfied with the leg there, so I think I'm gonna try to reposition it. But at this point you shouldn't really be spending too much time drawing at small details. It's about the shape, as I said before. And I think I'm gonna go into a bit that he could have a wooden leg. I mean, a wooden leg, who don't find that awesome? So what if I kind of reverse the shapes? I mean, a really big square compared to a round one is kind of a big contrast. So I'm thinking about what if his head and his body is kind of almost the same shape, but with the head in between. I think that could work very well. The problem with this one is that he doesn't really look that short. He looks more like a big guy, a big scary one, and that's not really what we want. Generally, when I'm doing this, I say to myself that I have to make 20 or 25 or 15 or something like that, because then I know that I can't stop when I get a good one. I know that I have to keep going, even though I want to stop. But it's just nice to keep on working and kind of get more designs out of it. And that way you can explore a lot, as I said before. And you can see it goes kind of quickly. I already got 5 designs down, and I think I'm spending about 2 minutes or 3 minutes on each. Well, sometimes you feel like you might need to go back into the research, but just to look at them, just to see, to get some inspiration or to find out what you want to do now. So this is where I figured maybe I could try to reverse the shape again on the other one that I did. So I'm just, maybe the head shouldn't be a part of the body, maybe it should be even bigger. And I'm trying to figure out how that looks, and this looks kind of like a big arrow. But I mean, he looks kind of short, so maybe I can use that in some way. So I'm not really satisfied with the head, so I'm just gonna erase that and try to make a new head to see how it looks with that. I'm scaling again just because it's easy, and then I'm trying out a new head. And this guy is kind of pointy. He's like a triangle pointing upwards. But you can see that he has in some way potential, I think. And also a thing I do when I'm trying to get a design is that I listen to a lot of music from maybe movies with the same theme, simply because it sets you in a state where you can kind of be like a pirate. You feel like you're in a movie with pirates, and that will sometimes help you make designs, but it's also nice just to listen to that when you are sitting there. And I think I listened to Pirates of the Caribbean, Hans Zimmer, I believe it was, who made the music, the soundtracks for it, and he also made for Jurassic Park, as far as I believe, but he's really good at it. It's really amazing what he does. One problem that I'm facing right now is that I've actually liked this design a lot, and I can see that it has a lot of good potential. Actually at this point I want to stop because I feel like I have the right design, but in some way I know that I have to try something else. I need to get the opportunities out. When dealing with thumbnails, I just like the general idea that you can do so much in so little time. So in general I actually spend a lot of time here, and I don't spend that much time rendering and making line art, because that's not so important for me. It's not important for me to make a nice drawing. It's important for me to make some choices that makes the character stronger compared to making a nice drawing. And I think that's also why I don't draw that much, because I know if I need to make a character, it will take some time for me, and I can't just sit around and not be concentrated while making a character. I need to be concentrated when I'm doing it. So you can see that this character has a really big head, and that's kind of fun to try as well. And when you make those big heads, it kind of makes them cute in some way. It makes them look like babies because the proportions are more like a baby. And that's why most cute stuff actually looks like that. And then of course I need to add a skull in the head, but that's just a nice contrast as well. And you can see the nice thing about that design, I feel like, is that he has this big head, but then he has tiny little legs. And I believe that that could be a good contrast, I think. And now I personally think that I'm going a bit too much into detail now. It's not that important to sit around and scribble those things. So I just got the idea that maybe it looked a bit too much like Mr. Crab. So I just had to research and see how it looked. But nah, I don't think so. But he's kind of cool as well. I really love SpongeBob. So I know that there are a lot of different pirate hats out there that I'm also trying to get some of them in within the concept. I'm just trying to see if it could work with a different hat or how the hats could be. And this guy kind of reminds me a bit of Napoleon. And maybe it's because of the hat, but I mean the hat looks very much like a Napoleon hat, if you could say it that way. And I think what also makes a nice, not artist, but a nice thing is that when you see a lot of things, you just get more experience and you'll be able to make something cool because you got that experience. You need to keep your eyes open and just look for stuff that you find interesting. And this will help you in the long run because you can then see what could be done to make something interesting yourself. Yeah, I was adding a sword behind him because that will be a part of his design as well. And then I'm trying to think about how can I put the beard in. But again, this is just testing out. I mean, I could go without going into these details. I think I just got a bit caught up by the moment and starting doing this. I made the line for the character where they can stand on, simply because I just think it looks better and it keeps the scene more clean, or not the scene, the Photoshop document. But in my opinion, it is important to spend some time on the design. I mean, I think you should try out opportunities, because if you don't, you can get tired of the design really quickly. And if you know that you have to work on this design for, let's say, 3 months or something like that, you need to make it in 3D. Well, it better be good if you need to work 3 months on it. I would hate working on something I didn't like for 3 months. Dude, that's a long time. So in most cases, it's best to spend the time on it. I mean, it can be frustrating enough working with 3D. There's no reason to make it harder. So this guy looks so arrogant. He has this big tummy going out and the hat. Yeah, I didn't really like the legs. So I was just thinking, how would he look with bigger legs, with longer legs? Maybe that could be interesting. Because most of the characters, well, they look short, but I could still make a tall character if I wanted to. I think it's good to just consider that he could be tall, but I think making him short was the right choice, because, well, I don't want to say anything wrong, but I think it can be tougher sometimes to be a short person. I know that short persons can be challenged a lot if they go out to a club or something like that, because people know that they can kind of say stuff to them because they're tall themselves or stuff like that. And I think that's really a big mistake. I really hate that kind of stuff. So I'm now trying with the Barbossa hat, the brown one, and I kind of like it, must say. But I don't know, it's a round shape into a square kind of. And then I try to add the beard in. Well, it looks cute as well, because yeah, still has a big head and stuff like that. So, well, there's nothing wrong with a cute, cute guy. But that's not really what I want. I want a guy who is short, but you should feel with him, but he should not be cute. He should be kind of worn out, kind of old. So a cute, that's a no-no, I think. But it's still nice just to go to the option of doing it. Design is really just about making choices in the right direction to your final goal of making the most legendary, awesome design. So I just needed the spelling to get the spelling right. It's a good idea to save the concepts as you go along. Generally, I try to work 45 minutes and then have a 15-minute break. That's a really nice way to work, because when you have that 45 minutes, your brain is kind of going, oh, it's too much already, and needs the break. If you keep on going, your productivity will just fall rapidly. It will be a disaster in the end. I mean, have you ever tried working a whole day, not taking a break, maybe only a lunch break? Oh, that's insane. You shouldn't be doing that. Well, I tried with a really big one, a big tummy this time. I feel like this is good looking as well. It kind of reminds me of something I've seen before, so I'm not really sure if this is what I'm gonna go with. But I like the contrast between his big body and his very small legs. That's a cool thing, I think. Well, not small legs, but thin legs at least. And I like that the upper body is so round in a way, and the lower legs are just straight things going down. I like that contrast. So I think this is one of my favorites as well. At some point when you're doing this, it gets tough. I mean, it's hard to push a orange and get all the juice out of it. But imagine that you pushed it so much that there's nothing left. But you try anyway. I mean, some of the designs are going to be bad anyway, so you might as well just get it out there. But it's really hard to keep on doing some stuff that you don't really want to. I mean, you want to, but it feels hard because you don't know what to do. I mean, you already did all the things that you was thinking about. You did all the designs that you were thinking could be cool. That's why it's so hard. And sometimes it's a battle with yourself because your own limits are holding you back. You have these habits that can easily hold you back. And I think if you don't have that much drawing experience, it can be advantage because you don't have those bad habits. If you have been teaching yourself drawing or designing, you can have a lot of bad habits already, and it can be hard to let go of those. Or not bad habits, but maybe you're in your comfort zone. Maybe you have it nice in your comfort zone. Maybe you get some nice feedback, and people may like what you do. And then it's very hard to step out of your comfort zone. You might be thinking that you will ruin something and that you can't go back again. But I think you can go back. It shouldn't be a problem. It's just when you try new stuff out, you just gain so much more because, yeah, it's just a whole new world. So I'm again trying to make a pilot. I must say that this guy is kind of cool, and he looks very short. I like that he has this big hat. If something could be done differently, I think it's the hat and the body has almost the same width again, and you should be careful about those things because it will happen often, but sometimes you won't see it. It's like making a tangent in a picture. It can be a rough place to be in, and it's not always a good thing. In some cases you want tension, and then you can add not a tangent but almost a tangent, and then it will help the design. But when you're just making a character, it's a different thing. Oh, I love this one. I wonder how he walks. He's a chubby little fellow. Well, I don't think those extra things on the hat helped. Let's see. I think I'm gonna keep it, and then I'm screwing the design up now. I think I liked it a lot better before. But well, still, it's just trying stuff out, so it's okay. Now he looks very tall. But this is the things you should think about. You should make decisions that make your design stronger. And that's probably why I didn't go with that design, because it was, well, it didn't support the story. I like the way that you can be creative with the beard and the eyes and the nose, and you can be creative with how the shapes should be formed. It's actually pretty crazy. My teacher, Craig Kelman, he was designing for Madagascar, and when the sequel came out, he was asked to make a villain for Madagascar 2, and it should be a hunter, and maybe the hunter had a son or something like that. And I remember I was at a seminar, and he was talking about this, and he showed us all the pages he did. I think he worked on these characters for half a year or something like that. And then after he had been working half a year at DreamWorks with the character design only on these two persons, they came and said to him, we don't really need a design for them anyways, because we're going to use the old lady from the Madagascar 1. And they did that. But in my opinion, it was really a bad decision, because those designs he made, they just looked so cool. I mean, they were really awesome. They had this big beard and was really like masculine men trying to be hunters. It was awesome. But they must have a crazy budget if they can hire a character designer for half a year and then don't use what he did. But I think he did do some other designs on it. I think so, at least. Well, I kind of like the second last design, not the one that I'm making now, but the one before that. He looks very short as well, but it's almost the same shape as I did earlier. And this guy, yeah, still looking tall. But it's also, when you're doing this stuff, if you're doing, well, I once had to do a frog, and I wanted the frog to be a smart one. So I was kind of battling between, should I make a big head on him? I mean, should his eyes be placed lower so he had a big head, kind of like a big brain? Or should it be placed more on top so he would look more like a frog? That was really a question for me, because I wanted him to look like a frog. He should be kind of a wood frog-like person, but still I wanted him to be smart. So I had to make a decision between, do I make him smart or do I make him more like a frog? the idea was that he was a human turned into a frog. So he once been a human, but then he became a frog. And in the end, I ended up making him with a big brain. And I think in some way it makes it a nice design as well. But it could have worked just the same with a small brain. So I'm really trying to squeeze the last things out of these ideas. And when you just keep going, you might fall into the trap of doing the same design every time you do one. And I don't think I'm there yet, but I will probably be soon. But I mean, if you look at the first designs that I did, they don't really have that much into the shape. They all kind of look the same. And you can see that I just experiment a lot more. I just push the shapes a lot more later on. And I think that's a really good idea. You can always tone it down if you want to, but just start extreme and then go lower. You can go full retard. You don't have to hold back. But the thing about silhouettes is also that you can really use the brain to just imagine a lot of things. When it's all dark, you can kind of get all these ideas about how could the beard look and how is his clothes, and you can show it really quickly just by making these thumbs. So it's not really a question about I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, it's not really a question about making all the nice details. And I think that's a trap as well to go into oh, I need to make this detail. I see a lot of people who are drawing and they start with a really subtle outline, and then they begin right in the middle of the outline and they begin rendering, and they render the eye maybe in a head, and they render the eye really nice, and then you see nothing else is done on the body, and it looks so funny because you only have that one eye, and then maybe they will keep rendering on the rest of the stuff. But I mean, you should take everything to one step and then move on and on and on. There's no need to just render the shit out of everything. That's just weird. Okay, so I think I managed to squeeze some more out. I mean, I like the last one as well, but they're starting to look like the stuff that I already did. And sometimes at this point you can ask somebody for feedback, because it's really hard to keep doing this. And a good idea is just to get some feedback that you can maybe use to try and make your design more interesting in some way, or to get a new view on things. I kind of like the last one there as well. I like that it's so round on the lower things and this tall neck, and then suddenly the head comes like a arrow. One thing that I see a lot is the people who make 3D designs don't think about how the character should be asymmetrical, because when you're making 3D you only make half of it, and then you duplicate the half to the other side, and then you have two sides that looks exactly the same. But if you look at real life, in real life people don't have the same sides of the head. I mean, some people have the ears a lot lower in one side and a little bit of a bigger eye on the other side. And if you convey that in the design, that's gonna be awesome. I know that they did it in Rango. I just love that one of his eyes is smaller than the other eye, and the way that his neck has a cut on it, it's really good. I really like it. Here I'm thinking about, what if he had like this tiny little body and this very slim neck that connects the body and the head, just to make him look more vulnerable. Yes. I think the last 3 ones looks a lot like kids, and that's not what I want either. So yeah, it's difficult. Okay, so I think this is the last one, or maybe the second last one I'm going to do. And after that, we're gonna refine the shapes a bit. I'm gonna select 3 thumbnails or silhouettes that I like, and we're going to work on them to make them more cool. I mean, to make them more finished. We still need to go through a lot because there are a lot of stuff to consider. I mean, where should the eyes be? How low should they be? Should they be up and stuff like that? But in this one, we looked at how you can thumbnail and how you can do it, and what you should think about when you're thumbnailing, because designing is a lot about thinking and feeling. The gay stuff. No, I hope I hope I won't be criticized for saying that. It's all in good faith, though. But yeah, that was that. I hope to see you in the next part, and hopefully you're ready for a round of knowledge. See you!